I used to believe moving abroad was a clean solution to complicated questions. Pack bags, cross borders, start fresh. That story sounded neat, convincing, almost generous. Friends repeated it. Social media amplified it. I carried it with me onto the plane, confident that distance would soften old pressures and unlock a better version of myself. What I did not understand then was that relocation does not erase internal weight. It rearranges it. The unfamiliar does not heal you by default. It exposes you. This story begins before I understood that truth fully, with clarity earned later through experience alone, eventually abroad. Before leaving, my life looked stable from the outside. Predictable work days, familiar streets, conversations that followed known paths. Comfort wrapped everything. But underneath sat a restlessness I could not name. I told myself I wanted growth, not escape. I said opportunity waited elsewhere. Quietly, I hoped movement would fix discomfort I had never learned to address. Preparing to leave felt empowering. Selling possessions, closing routines, imagining reinvention. Each step forward felt intentional. Each doubt was reframed as fear. I ignored the possibility that change might complicate things instead of simplifying them, a truth revealed later during solitude abroad. The departure itself passed quickly. Airports compress emotion into efficiency. Goodbyes became brief exchanges, lighter than they should have been. Lingering felt dangerous. I boarded the plane composed, convinced courage meant not looking back. In the air, anticipation drowned uncertainty. Arrival delivered exactly what was promised. New colors, unfamiliar sounds, the thrill of anonymity. I walked longer routes simply to absorb my surroundings. Everything felt possible. I documented small moments to send home as proof of success. Those early days shimmered with energy, masking how fragile excitement can be when unsupported by roots or shared expectations. Adjustment began subtly. Nothing dramatic announced itself. Small misalignments appeared in conversations, gestures, pauses. Humor landed differently. Silence carried meanings I could not yet read. I learned to observe before speaking, to measure tone carefully. Language offered vocabulary without full understanding. Even when words made sense, intention slipped away. Each interaction required attention. Each explanation drained energy. I told myself this was temporary. Adaptation takes patience. Still, the city felt vast. Crowds moved together while I navigated alone. Anonymity shifted from freedom to distance over time, quietly reshaping confidence and self-trust. Loneliness arrived without ceremony. It did not announce itself as sadness. It settled into ordinary routines, public transport rides filled with conversations not meant for me. Evenings ended early, meals became solitary rituals, productivity replaced connection. I stayed busy to avoid listening too closely to my thoughts. Independence looked admirable from afar, but it carried weight. Sharing success became difficult when no one understood the effort behind it. Failure felt heavier without familiar reassurance. I realized that being surrounded by people does not guarantee belonging. Sometimes it sharpens absence. There was a moment when this reality surfaced clearly. Walking home one evening, the city pulsed with purpose. Laughter spilled from cafes. Groups leaned into shared stories. I moved through it unseen. That invisibility felt heavier than isolation ever had at home. I understood then that leaving had not simplified life. It had stripped away context. Without familiar reference points, I faced myself directly. Questions I had postponed returned sharper. Motivation, identity, belonging. The move demanded honesty. Not dramatic honesty. Quiet, persistent honesty that followed me home every night. After that, identity began shifting. At home, traits fit without effort. Abroad, everything required explanation. I became cautious, observant, more inward. Confidence stopped being performative and became survival-based. I listened more than I spoke. I watched how people moved through space. I adjusted expectations downward and awareness upward. Belonging revealed itself as something built, not granted. Reinvention sounded appealing until I noticed what disappeared in the process. Familiar ease, shared history, the relief of being understood without translation. Growth asked for exchange, and the cost was real. Thoughts of leaving surfaced occasionally, not with panic, but with curiosity. Late nights brought questions about endurance. Morning walks asked whether persistence equaled wisdom or pride. Each time, something anchored me. Not optimism, responsibility. The understanding that unfinished lessons follow you. Departure would not cancel them. Staying became an act of commitment to self-knowledge. I began observing rather than resisting. Measuring progress differently, survival slowly became stability. Not comfort, stability. The difference mattered. I accepted that difficulty did not mean failure. It meant engagement with reality. Small anchors formed over time. A cafe where my order needed no explanation. Routes that felt familiar. Faces that acknowledged me without curiosity. These moments were modest, but essential. They stitched continuity into days that once felt suspended. Stability grew quietly. I stopped comparing experience to expectation. I began meeting it as it was. Distance from home remained present. Celebrations felt altered. Conversations required planning across time zones. I missed being understood effortlessly, yet perspective deepened. I saw myself more clearly, without familiar mirrors shaping identity or worth. By then, I understood the move had succeeded differently than expected. It did not fix uncertainty. It sharpened it. It did not provide belonging. It taught me how belonging forms. Leaving home removed distractions that once buffered discomfort. Abroad, every assumption required testing. Every choice carried consequence. The experience reshaped priorities, values, and patience. It demanded maturity rather than enthusiasm. Looking back, the move was neither mistake nor miracle. It was a mirror. And mirrors are honest, even when the truth feels uncomfortable. That clarity did not arrive suddenly. It accumulated through repetition, through mornings when motivation felt thin, through evenings when silence stretched long. Each day added texture to understanding. I learned that courage is quieter than imagined. It is consistency without applause. Living abroad asked me to stand by choices without reassurance. It asked patience with slow integration. Over time, I stopped waiting to feel settled. I focused on participating fully. Presence replaced anticipation. The future mattered less than showing up honestly where I already stood. Freedom looked different after that realization. It was no longer escape. It became responsibility for my internal state. No city could provide peace without effort. No relocation could substitute self-awareness. I began treating challenges as information rather than obstacles. Cultural friction taught humility. Loneliness taught discernment. Uncertainty taught trust in process. These lessons did not arrive gently, but they arrived honestly. The story I once believed about starting over transformed into a grounded understanding. Growth did not require erasing the past. It required integrating it. This is why warnings matter, not to discourage movement, but to prepare hearts. Stories like this exist because many people carry them quietly. Migration reshapes inner landscapes first. The external change simply triggers the process. Listening to lived experiences offers protection. Optimism cannot. It grounds decisions in reality rather than fantasy. Had I heard this story earlier, I might still have left, but I would have left with clearer expectations. Awareness does not eliminate difficulty. It equips you to meet it without confusion or shame. The idea of home also changed. It stopped being a fixed place. It became something carried internally. Values, habits, ways of responding to uncertainty. Distance taught me which parts of home mattered and which were convenient. I learned to recreate grounding rituals rather than environments. Familiarity became portable. This shift reduced resentment and expectation. I stopped demanding places complete me. I allowed them to shape me instead. Home turned into a practice rather than a location. So before you decide to move abroad in 2026, hear this story as context, not command. Movement can expand you. It can also confront you. Both outcomes are valuable if understood. Leaving home will not rescue you from yourself. It will introduce you to yourself without familiar support. That meeting can be transformative or overwhelming. Preparation determines which. I share this not as warning alone, but as orientation. The longer I stayed, the more I understood that living abroad was not about location. It was about endurance. The early excitement faded, and what remained was daily life, ordinary and demanding. I learned that the true test of relocation begins after novelty disappears. That is when reality settles in quietly and asks whether you are prepared to meet it without distraction. I stopped waiting for a moment when everything would click. Instead, I began paying attention to how I responded when it did not. Delays, misunderstandings, and missed connections became teachers. Each one revealed something about my expectations. I had assumed adaptation would move forward in a straight line. In truth, it moved in circles. Some days felt settled. Others felt disorienting. Progress was uneven, but it was real. Relationships formed differently abroad. Casual connections remained surface level longer. Trust required consistency rather than proximity. I learned patience in conversation, listening more carefully than before. Shared experiences mattered more than shared language. Over time, I noticed that belonging was built through repetition, showing up, staying present, allowing familiarity to grow slowly. There were days I missed the simplicity of home, not the place itself, but the ease of recognition. Being known without explanation, being understood without translation. Abroad, identity felt fluid. I was learning which parts of myself were essential and which had been shaped by environment. That distinction was uncomfortable but necessary. Work days passed steadily. Responsibilities grounded me. Routine offered stability. I learned that structure can be comforting when everything else feels uncertain. Small accomplishments carried weight, completing tasks, navigating systems independently, solving problems without immediate support. These moments rebuilt confidence quietly. I began to notice how my internal dialogue changed. At first, it was critical and impatient. Over time, it softened. I became more forgiving of uncertainty. I stopped demanding immediate clarity. I allowed the experience to unfold without constant evaluation. Acceptance replaced resistance. The city itself changed in my perception. What once felt overwhelming became familiar. Streets developed memory. Sounds lost their sharpness. The environment became a backdrop rather than a challenge. Comfort returned, not because everything was easy, but because I had adapted internally. Distance from home taught me discernment. I learned which relationships sustained me and which relied on proximity alone. Conversations with loved ones deepened. Time zones forced intention. Communication became purposeful rather than habitual. I valued those connections differently. At some point, I stopped asking whether the move was worth it. The question no longer served me. Worth implies comparison. This experience resisted comparison. It was neither better nor worse. It was different. And difference taught resilience. I realized many people move abroad expecting external freedom while underestimating internal responsibility. Without familiar structures, you become accountable for your own emotional regulation. Fulfillment does not arrive automatically. You must build it. This understanding changed how I viewed success. Success became quieter, feeling grounded, maintaining self-respect, navigating discomfort without abandoning values, staying curious rather than defensive. I learned to sit with ambiguity. Not everything needed resolution. Some questions required time rather than answers. This patience reshaped my thinking. I became less reactive, more reflective, more open to complexity. Living abroad stripped away illusions I carried unknowingly. It revealed the difference between independence and isolation, between movement and growth, between escape and intention. These distinctions clarified why some people thrive abroad while others struggle. Stories about relocation often focus on logistics, visas, housing, jobs. Rarely do they address emotional labor, the constant recalibration, the internal negotiation between adaptation and authenticity. That work is invisible, but substantial. Eventually, balance returned. Not the balance I imagined before leaving, but a deeper one. I understood my limits. I trusted my capacity to adjust. I no longer feared starting over because I had learned how to anchor myself internally. The idea of returning home changed too. Home was no longer a fallback. It became a place I could return to with perspective. Distance clarified appreciation. Nostalgia softened into gratitude. Looking back, the move was a confrontation disguised as opportunity. It challenged assumptions. It demanded accountability. It reshaped identity through experience rather than intention. It was not easy, it was formative. This is why stories matter more than advice. Advice simplifies. Stories reveal complexity. They prepare without prescribing. If you are considering moving abroad in 2026, understand this. The journey will not save you from discomfort. It will introduce you to it differently. Growth will arrive through consistency, humility, and patience. Leaving home changes you gradually. It removes familiar mirrors and asks you to define yourself without them. Preparation determines how that process unfolds. I share this story to anchor expectations. Relocation can expand perspective when paired with self-awareness. It can deepen resilience when you stay present through difficulty. If this resonates, it is because many people live it quietly, far from home, between cultures, between versions of themselves. And if you decide to go informed, go aware. Distance does not erase who you are. It reveals you. That is what moving far from home truly does. More stories of identity, movement, and belonging are coming. Subscribe to Far From Home Stories. Thank you for watching.